over the past weeks, I've had some deep conversations with entrepreneurs and creators. And honestly, what struck me most was that they did not have business problems. It was what happening underneath them. Because on the surface, people are building, they're posting, they're creating, they're showing up. But underneath, many are exhausted. And maybe you know exactly what I mean. Maybe you felt it too. If you're an entrepreneur, a creator, wanting to understand the deeper patterns underneath money, pressure, success, subscribe to this channel. So, what I started seeing, one person was speaking about money, but underneath was fear. Fear of being seen, fear of receiving, fear of becoming more than his parents. Another talked about consistency, but underneath was exhaustion. Years of eternal pressure, years of fighting himself while trying to build externally. And honestly, I recognized parts of myself in these conversations too. See, after the financial crisis, I ended up in a $1.5 million debt. And from the outside, I looked functional. But inside, there was fear, shame, guilt, pressure, overthinking, and a lot of nervous system stress. Then later, I rebuilt. I built a company with 60 people. I built a speaking, seminar, and coaching business on top of that. But when I look back now, what I understand is that a lot of entrepreneurs are not actually fighting business problems. They're fighting what's happening inside while they're trying to build on the outside. So as an example, what I have come to realize is that, and I think that many entrepreneurs, they secretly believe, when I finally succeed, then I will feel safe. Then I can relax. Then I'll be enough. But the fact is that those thoughts create enormous pressure internally. And I've seen this myself because now business becomes tied to worth, love, safety, and identity. And there's just like a service announcement here. So this is where the income block decoder fits really good into this video, because it's one of the reasons why I created this money income or income block decoder. Because most people don't actually know what's running underneath the surface. They just experience pressure, overthinking, inconsistency, exhaustion, fear around money, tension. But they don't see the deeper patterns. And the decoder helps bring awareness to that. The link is below this video if it speaks to you. So my big realization here is that what I am beginning to really realize more and more is that transformation often starts the moment another human being finally feels safe enough to tell the truth. Not the polished version, not the I'm crushing it version. We see those versions all over the internet, right? But the real version, the tired version, the scared version, the overwhelmed version. Because that's where real change begins. And let me give you a quick example here. See, if we look at successful people today, it's still about grinding and pushing it and full of pressure and power and all of these things. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. For some people it's good, and maybe, as it was for me, it helps us to come to a place where we realize that there's a lot of fear and uncertainty and tightness and pressure underneath all of that. And from those calls that I've had, I've seen that, well, we can talk on the surface level, but of what I've experienced and why I created this video is that, and those deeper conversations, is that something, and maybe it's just something I know subconsciously, but when I speak with people on these calls, something gets triggered inside of them. And people told me this, I feel tension now. And that was triggered by something that I said. But it's a good thing, because when we can speak about that tension, that's what many successful people doesn't speak that much about. They speak about pushing and grinding it through the fear. But the deep-rooted fear is still underneath. So, yeah, let's take a deep breath here. I'm going to have more calls, and this is something that I might even have been a bit of scared of, because as I came back, I've shared this in other videos, after my second crisis, I was like, where am I going? What am I doing? I shared videos around this. And on these calls, I might have been afraid myself of opening up to this, because it is vulnerable to have these conversations. It is vulnerable to sit with a grown-up man who is kind of a successful entrepreneur and see him crying, burst into tears. But on the other side of that, first of all, that's what I had to experience myself. That's what I had to go through myself, all of these tears, all of this pain, not from pushing it, because that's kind of taking us away from the internal pain, but from feeling the internal pain. Because when we face that fear, not as having to fight it, but coming from a love, coming from a authentic intention of getting to know ourselves, finding back to ourselves, that's where the magic happens. And magic not as tomorrow they will land a lot of money, or tomorrow the business is just perfect, not that kind of magic, but the kind of magic of a business owner, a creator who have been pushing it and grinding and still has felt all of this pain underneath, and now finally someone sees it. Because just grinding, it doesn't do anything good. It just pushes that pain down there. And most of us have learned, I did, many others have learned in our childhood that not to show these emotions, not to be afraid. And that's even what we hear today, right? Not to be afraid, just to push through. But what if that scared little kid actually just wants a hug, actually just wants to be listened to be heard? Some of these calls that I've been on, I've been listening. Nothing strategic, just sitting there and listening. And I can hold it, so I can be with their pain, I can be with their emotions. And people have said in the end of these calls that it's so good, that feels like someone finally understands me. Because that's the thing, right? We see and hear this is how we should do it. But inside we're scared little kids that never felt safety, never felt the love, never felt the support. So that's what I wanted to say, and maybe something inside of you reacts while you're hearing this. Then there's a reason. And that reason could be that maybe a part of you is tired of carrying it alone. There's a link below this video if you want to check out what we're doing. Anyway, thanks for being here.